Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? Welcome to another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. How do I do this again?
It's your boy, Jonathan Macri. You introduce yourself.
Macri, leave that in. Don't edit that out. Listen, when you go away and you go to another country and you eat enough pasta, you forget basic, I forgot how to wipe my ass, actually, when I first came back because, they have the 3 seashells over there. Do you get that joke?
No.
Oh, my. You never saw Demolition Man?
No, actually. I know it's like up there for people who love 80s movies, but
it's not an 80s movie. It's
even more so.
It's in the thick of the 90s, man.
Even more so. That's Wesley Snipes, right?
Yes, and Sylvester Stallone and a young Sandra Bullock, among other luminaries. Anyway, we are here, and we are kicking off, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it, our 25 for 25 series. This is going to be our summer project here at Knicks Film School. And it was something that, I've talked about it a few times already, shamelessly stealing from the Big Picture podcast, who they're counting down their 25 best movies of the last 25 years. We are counting down our 25 greatest Knicks of the last 25 years, starting with today, number 25, who I think you will already know who this is from the description of this episode, but we'll do a little bit more preamble before we get to him. First, some logistics. So, as was a point of confusion for some voters here at Knicks Film School, I'm not going to say who. They may or may not be present on the episode right now. This starts with the 2000-2001 season. So this encompasses the last 25 seasons of Knicks basketball, which means, Andrew Claudio, that the 2000 playoffs and the Knicks run to the Eastern Conference Finals, a memorable run for those of us who remember it. Great series against the Miami Heat, and then in a Game 7 win that was a slop fest. But big win. All that doesn't count. So, keep that in mind as we go through some people, not only who were members of that particular team, but also, if somebody appears on the list or whatever, and you're like, well, that's weird because that must mean this player's not on or this player's not on. That's some of the reason why. As far as who ended up on the list, how many people voted for this? 10, 11, 12?
11. The Knicks Film School faculty, for the most part, voted for this.
And it wasn't just voting 1 through 25 because I don't want to reveal too much, but as we go through these episodes, we'll let you guys know when there were, when we're in a tier, because going through the average votes, the average ranks, I guess would be the better way to say it. It's very clear that some tiers developed, not the type of tiers that flowed down your face, which also developed as some folks were left off the list, or maybe not as high as some people may have wanted them, but tiers within the rankings. I say all this to say that we averaged all 11 voters rankings, and we had to go down to over 40, right? I think everybody voted to at least 40. Their top 40.
We are at 52 names that were listed. Yes. Now, what I ended up doing for the back, some people only went to about 40 or 43 or 45, and I said, if you don't care about the remaining 9 or 10, I will just list 44 through 52 for you based on what their rank is now. So that's how we end up with basically a 1 through 52 for everybody over. And I'm counting now. 1, 2, Benji, me, Jeremy, DJ, Jeff, Jeremy Goldstein, Kevin, Chris, John, you're John. So
I'm
Macri, Mark, Mensa, and Sean. The averages amongst these gentlemen at Knicks Film School. And that gets us to our top 25.
And to give you an idea of how much discrepancy there was amongst the voters, I'm just looking at it now. For instance, there is someone amongst the faculty who voted someone in their top 25 that ended up being number 34 on the list. And then like I have a player who I'm not going to say right now, but who is squarely in my top 10 that ended up barely making the top 20. So there's some stuff that we're going to have to work through here. We'll get some different members of the faculty on for some of these episodes, maybe to make their case, or perhaps, I guess, make a case against someone if the situation arises. And that'll all come soon. Andrew, I'm going to make you do some live producing on the air. Before we get to number 25 in the rankings, do you think it would be a worthy exercise to handle, I could say, both of the people who just missed the cut for 25, or what really it's one person in particular?
There's I'll just say this. It's less than a point difference, like a full point difference between number 25, 26, and 27. So the person that ended up being 25 is 0.42 ahead of the person that finished 26th and 0.92 ahead of the person that finished 25. So it's a borderline tie, but the person that ends up getting 25. So if you want to talk about the two honorable mentions, big one that we thought we were going to be podcasting about today until the last couple of lists came in. So by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to even put a finer point on it, I'm just going to say, so like number 23 averaged out to 22.92. That was the average ranking for our number 23 on this list. After 23, there is a drop to a 26.08 ranking. That's for the number 24 player on our list, who I'm not going to reveal right now. And then, so that 24 was 26.08. The 25th player, who we're going to talk about today, 27.0. The 26th player, who just missed the cut, 27.42. And the 27th player, 27.92. And then there's a little bit of a drop to 28. The player that Andrew's referencing is Jeremy Lin.
That finished 27th. That finished 27th. There's two honorable mentions that are at 27 point. The 26 is Marcus Camby. 27 is Jeremy Lin.
So for readers, anybody listening who reads the Knicks Film School newsletter will see that I already have Jeremy Lin in my personal top 25. He was actually number 24 for me. And I mean, look, Jeremy Lin's been on this podcast. We've talked about Jeremy Lin many times. For me, it more than anything he accomplished, as I was making my list, maybe not so much the individual placement of the individual people, but I would not have been comfortable having a 25-man list if there was someone not on it who I felt like you could not tell the story of the Knicks of the last 25 years without including this player. And that is more than any other reason why Jeremy Lin was on my list, but he didn't make it. And Camby, by the way, let me just say real quick, Camby initially was on my list, and then I rejiggered it at the very end, and he ended up being 26 for me. And which leads us to the person that we're going to talk about today, who is the only person, Andrew, I'm not sure if you realize this, who is within our top 25, the Knicks Film School top 25, that was not in my personal top 25. So this is an interesting place for me to start off today.
Well, I'm sorry, you have to start there today. I also had Jeremy Lin at 24. There's a couple guys that made the top 25 that aren't in mine. For those wondering, Mikal Bridges, not on the list, was 25 for me, finished 28th overall for all of us. So just misses the cut.
We're going to get Benji to, I'm not going to say, but Benji at some point.
I know Benji said the thing that you wanted to say out loud, but it's okay that the rest of us have other opinions too. So we were able to make sure Mikal Bridges gets ranked appropriately outside of two people that may have been more frustrated with him than others. I will just say that, to your point, Jeremy Lin's been on this show. He has a great documentary that's still available, 38 in the Garden, for you to check out on HBO. I think we have celebrated him a ton throughout the course of this podcast. there will be a conversation to have with a couple people who are responsible for why he's not on the list.
And it's like three people who...
It's very much three people that have to explain why someone who is like averaging out to be 24th suddenly became 27th based off their ranking. But we will let them... this is why I like that this is a collaborative list. You get a collection of 12 people, and you come up with a list. And that, I mean, we're showing everybody how the sausage is made for sure. But I'm glad we do get to talk about number 25 instead.
So here's the thing, and this will transition us. And it's a fascinating dichotomy to me between Lynn and the guy we're going to talk about today, number 25, Deuce McBride. Because Jeremy Lin was, I mean, obviously for 2 weeks and change was the biggest, person in the world of sports, but he was, a part of a winning Knick team, essentially for like a month and a half, from when Insanity kicked off until when he got injured. And then the team went on that great run. It was 18-6, right? 18-6 the last 24 games.
Yep.
With your boy Karl-Anthony leading the way. Karl-Anthony, by the way, for anybody wondering, did make the list of the top 25.
Much to John's efforts to try and make sure he did. No, I'm kidding. In fact, there's another person that has some explaining to about where they put Melo that
it ain't me.
We'll talk about in several weeks from now.
Yeah, several weeks. You're gonna be waiting a while for the Melo episode. Fear not. But it was the Insanity was short, but even him just being a part of that team before he got injured was short. Deuce McBride has been a part of, I have it right here, 236 games as a Knick. Now, among those 236, and I did not go through all 236 box scores with a fine-tooth comb, I would imagine if I had to guess, there's probably 40, 50, maybe 60, maybe more garbage time appearances in there. But he has still been on the court for 236 games as a Knick. Among the players that we are considering for this ranking, that ranks 19th, which is pretty high. But if you go even further and you look at some of the names above him on the list, not too many do we associate with winning Knicks basketball. So just like, I'm just going to go through the ones that we do that have more games played than Deuce McBride. Again, players who have been on mostly winning Knicks teams. I can't put Melo there because he was not mostly part of winning Knicks teams. Mitchell Robinson, I would say yes. Julius Randle, I would say yes. Allen Houston, unfortunately, have to say no because, again, we are only considering from the 2000-2001 season. So that's a no. RJ Barrett is a yes. Amare Stoudemire is a. We're going to talk about Amare when the time comes. He's kind of on the fence. And then Emmanuel Quickley. And those are the only players who have more games played as a Knick than Deuce. And again, have been part of mostly winning teams. And I think more than anything, that's the reason why he wound up making this list, which I'm going to turn it to you and see if you agree with that opinion.
I agree with that opinion. Just a bit of a resume check for Deuce McBride. Attended West Virginia, our number 25 on this list. Attended West Virginia, drafted 36th overall by the Thunder in 2021, and then traded to the New York Knicks alongside, see if you remember this name, everybody, Rokas Jokubaitis for Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
Is he in the league? I'm going to look it up. We'll keep talking.
Don't think he is.
I don't think he is either, but I'm going to double check.
Some notable stats for Deuce McBride amongst this range that we've sorted from the 2000 to 2001 until current day, the last 25 seasons. He is 21st in 3-point field goals made. He's made 281, right behind Steve Novak. I thought that was notable because Steve Novak, known as one of the best shooters in the league, much more volume for Deuce McBride because he's played more than also played in a different time than Steve Novak. And then the notable one, which goes to what you're talking about, 4th in playoff 3-pointers made over this stretch. He's made 48 threes, only behind Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart. And
who?
And Josh Hart, yes, which is the funny part that everybody's like, you need to get more shooting in to get Deuce in to put for Josh. And Josh technically, now Josh, thanks again, volume matters. So Josh plays more, and because of how teams guard him, is tempted to shoot more than, or not even tempted, is baited into shooting more by other teams, which is how volume creates him having more threes than Deuce. But like, to Josh's credit, Josh has a higher 3-point percentage than Deuce McBride in the playoffs as well.
What are we going to do when like Josh Hart retires with more made playoff 3-point field goals than like John Starks? Like,
we will have another conversation about Josh Hart again in several weeks on this show.
He will not be passing John Starks for what it's worth.
Yes. But to your point, the guy has been a part of important playoff games, important playoff rotations, some winning basketball for the New York Knicks. And to your point about how valuable he is in contributing to the winning, look, this pod is not going to be a Tom Thibodeau conversation. I actually think Tibbs deserves a lot of credit for the development of Deuce McBride, but Deuce, in really turning himself into a shooter that the league has to fear and respect, it's a testament to his work ethic that all of the numbers that have been reported that they were singing in practice and the 7 Westchester games, like, they knew eventually that's going to translate to the NBA, and he put the work ethic in to get it to that point. And it's why I thought it was fitting that he ends up being number 25 on our list.
So we have a format for how we're going to do these shows in which we're going to go through some, I would say categories, I guess. But like we're going to start every episode kind of offering our bigger picture thoughts on the player. And for me, you just nailed it, which is that this guy came in not with the reputation of a non-shooter, because he didn't. He like shot it a little bit at West Virginia, but there was a question about whether the shot would translate. But and I've talked about this several times over the years, his effective field goal percentage as a rookie was like, it was the sub basement of guys in NBA history that have ever had that much volume. Like, because again, it was a lot of garbage time minutes, but he did get in a fair number of games as a rookie, and he shot it when he got in there, and he made nothing. And then his second year got better, but still, like, there was not a real indication that he was ever going to turn into like a serviceable deep threat. And we got to the point this year where, among the several reasons, and again, we're going to get to the Tibbs portion of this conversation, among the several reasons that people wanted to run Tibbs out of town, number one was like, you have this dead-eye shooter who opens up the whole court just by being out there. He's like the Knicks' Klay Thompson, effectively. Put him in and get this other guy who, does a lot of other things well off the court. For him to have made that transformation over the course of like a year, right? Because like the people were saying this coming into this year for him, which was year 4. And nobody was saying that at the end of year 2 for him. And it's a testament to his work ethic. It really is. It
really started after they traded RJ and IQ. And the conversation was, why aren't you playing quickly enough minutes? And then they traded quickly, and that conversation was supposed to go away. And that just got picked up with, well, why aren't you playing Deuce more? And to the point that I just made about him developing into this shooter and this multi-dimensional player than just like a pest on defense that you don't want to be guarded by. Like, that was always the calling card when I remember his rookie season. It's like, oh, well, Deuce can defend. Like, if he could ever learn how to shoot. Yeah. Once he added the shooting, that has almost become the secondary thing, his defense. And yet there is a belief of some amongst Knicks Film School people that, like, he's their best point of attack defender at this point, especially when you compare it to what Mikal Bridges was this year. At times, I would actually argue OG Anunoby is, because OG can guard 1 through 5, but point of attack above the 3-point line on the perimeter, I think Deuce has a case for it. And if you remember, after the IQ RJ trade, Deuce wasn't like, there was a thought that who they were going to have to trade is somebody to replace Deuce in the rotation. Like, Deuce can't be a rotation player. Why not? Oh. And he had
his IQ in the rotation.
Well, no. So like Deuce entered the rotation, and the thought was like, "Oh, we're so shorthanded right now.
Oh yeah,
we don't have enough guys. Whoever we get, we don't need just one, but we need two guys to back up this really good starting five." And it's why when both Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic came here, the thought was, okay, Deuce is out of the rotation. And I know you all remember this. Alec Burks left the rotation because Deuce was someone you had to keep on the floor on both sides of it. Yeah. And that was the coolest part about seeing him develop into what he became, is that they've developed this kid from a second round pick. I think he's an argument to be the best second round pick the Knicks have ever made. But there's another guy that's going to come up in a couple of weeks that
since Willis Reed.
I don't count when there was like 12.
When there was an 18
post-merger, okay, John? Yeah. But he's in the conversation for one of the best second-round picks they've ever made. I know technically the Thunder drafted him, but guys that came to the Knicks on draft night that were taken in the second round, it's just been really cool to see him develop into what he is and what he will potentially be on this now contender that we get to watch and cover.
And that's going to come up in another one of our topics. The last thing I'll say before we go through those is, I'm happy you obviously brought up the trade. I think it's funny in retrospect. I without saying who I would replace him with on my list, like, there's probably 26 or 27 players who really deserve to make this, and he is one of them. I think for me, when I was doing my rankings initially, there was a part of me who was like, well, yeah, he's been here for a while. Yeah, he's been a part of obviously some winning teams, but for the majority of the time that he has been here, he was not a rotation player. At least not when the team was any good. The only time he kind of really entered the rotation was when the team started to stink at the end of the 21-22 season, up until the OG Anunoby trade. And then it kind of flipped. And I guess for me, I had trouble reconciling that, because I don't know that there's another player on our list other than I guess Lynn, because Jeremy Lin sat on the bench for several months too, but that's kind of a different thing. But Deuce McBride more or less sat on the bench for 2.5 years, and then emerged as this kind of force of nature, and really did take Emmanuel Quickley's place, like spiritually, physically, like everything,
narratively,
everything. Quick break to tell you about America's first ever USDA organic THC gummy. You know the words. Shout out to Cornbread. Yes, Cornbread, the source of your healthy happy hour. It's a natural and healthier way to experience a carefree moment. Cornbread's THC gummies offer a balanced sense of happiness and relaxation. Well, how do they achieve that balance? My favorite thing about Cornbread is it's just the right amount for me, as someone who is not a regular user of these sorts of products, but still wants to get that relaxation without feeling anxious or paranoid like some other cannabis edibles, which is why Cornbread's 1-to-1 THC to CBD ratio is perfect for me. They have 10 milligrams of THC per gummy, which is just the right dose, and it gives me everything I need without any of the stuff that I don't want. If you are looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. They have created the first ever USDA organic THC gummy that is 100% legal. As a special offer to Knicks Film School listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use promo code KFS at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. So, and then he turned it on, which I guess could lead us to our first topic, which is our best memory / lasting image of the player as a Knick. I'll turn to you first on this one. I have a distinct one in mind, but I'm curious. I wonder if we're going to have the same one.
So this is somewhat of a cheat, because it's not an image, but it's a sound. It's the playoffs, that game. It's honestly not even game one, but it's after his heroic game one. The loudest. You were in the building for this. Now that I realize this. The first three he took against Philly in game two, after a heroic game one that helped the Knicks win the game one against the Sixers. He takes that three, and it's the loudest Deuce chant that I ever heard. And it was just like, oh, this is now a thing. Like we have a guy that gets the fan base all in collective unison doing something together. And I just thought that's the thing that stands out, is the first time I realized that chant exists. Hearing it on the road is so freaking cool when you're in another team's building, or Orlando or Philly or Atlanta or Miami, and the Deuce chants exist. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the best memory I have of Deuce McBride. It's the first time I heard or recognized hearing or remember hearing the Deuce chant.
It is uncanny that is the loudest road chant for the Knicks of anyone. They have an MVP candidate who plays for them, and the whatever MVP chants exist for Jalen Brunson on the road pale in comparison to the Deuce chants. You kind of stole my answer, because mine is game one against Philly, and like that series was a lifetime, and like it took years off my life. I'm pretty sure I took years off other Knicks fans' lives. So for anybody who may forget, Deuce McBride in that game, in 28 minutes, shot 7 of 12 from the field overall, took 7 threes, made 5 of them, ended up with 21 points. He was the team's third leading scorer, but that's only because Jalen Brunson took 26 shots to get his 22 points. Josh Hart, only 5 of 12 from the field, but he was 4 of 8 from deep for his 22 points. Interesting stat, though. In a game, the Knicks only won by 7 points. Final score 111-104. Josh Hart, a -5. Jalen Brunson, a -3. Dante DiVincenzo, 3 of 10. He was a -23. Deuce McBride in those 28 minutes, plus 37. I had frankly forgotten that before I looked up this morning as I was doing research for this. But my God. And I'll just say, like, look, I know they probably should have won that series in 5 games. If Deuce doesn't come and shoot the lights out of the ball in game one, there's a whole alternate universe, like an alternate history of what could have transpired.
Well, go a step further, because I think my answer is different to this question in this category. If Tyrese Maxey doesn't turn into Superman in game 5, that's, sure. Like it now. The Knicks had some self-inflicted wounds too, like Mitch jumping on the 4-point play, Josh Hart missing a free throw, Tibbs not calling a timeout, and then Deuce not fouling when they're up 3. Like there are other things at play there that made it happen. But like if that doesn't happen, he hits the jumper from the elbow to put them up by 6. And that sent off a bit of a party in the Garden that night. That I know people that were watching the game and can remember that feeling. I thought we had just knocked off this Sixers team in 5 with all the bullshit from Embiid and all of the stuff from game 3 just being the only highlight they had from the series. And then the next, 5 minutes played out. Nice. But like that would have been my lasting image. And the point I'm trying to make is he was on the floor for what was about to be a closeout game and hit one of the biggest shots that was supposed to be the clinching shot in a closeout game at home. Now, higher powers, the man upstairs has a better plan than us, which is why I'm glad that their actual first time clinching since 99 was this year, the 2025 trip to the conference finals, because I wouldn't trade that night against Boston for anything.
That was awesome.
And look, Deuce played a role in that. too, because they actually went to the 5-out lineup that we never got to see all season. It helped extend the lead into double figures. Now, they probably could have played anybody in blue and orange that night, and they would have extended the lead because the Celtics were done. But I'm glad we highlighted the Philly series as like the Deuce McBride lasting image, because that's absolutely the moment I recognize this isn't just like a fun regular season development story. This guy could show up in important moments in the playoffs too.
Good transition to our next category, which is biggest regret. But just to be clear, this can be either something you like wish had gone differently for this player, or something you wish had gone better for this player, whether that is like something that they were responsible for, like a moment that you wish could have gone differently for them, or, as will apply to Deuce McBride, something that was perhaps out of their control. And I would imagine we had the same answer for this, because how could it be anything other than, man, what if we had gotten to see Deuce? I feel bad because this is putting down Josh Hart, and like that's always why I felt bad having this conversation, but just it was right there, the whole year. It was right there. And I mean, again, this isn't a Tom Thibodeau conversation, but like, and it's also like, I don't know what the word is, but it's like, yeah, if we had seen this lineup, maybe Tom Thibodeau still has a job, but a big reason why he doesn't have a job is because we didn't see this lineup. So it's like, what's the point? I don't know.
What lineup might you be referring to, John?
It just Deuce with the other four starters,
in place of Josh Hart.
In place of Josh.
Yeah, played 82 possessions during the season, during the whole regular season. We saw 8 million possessions, and that's like according to Cleaning the Glass, 8 million is the number they have for the Knicks' current starting five that they had last year. Where Josh
not
Hart
for much longer, I don't think. But
well, so that actually that okay, we'll save that. Yeah, that much longer for another category. It's interesting that it can be a full season regret that we only got 82 possessions of that lineup. And I know my process throughout most of last year was like, this is not how Tibbs operates. The regular season is not just for data collection. It's like try and win every game possible. So I have to try and judge you by the playoffs. Like, do you know in your back pocket you have another lineup you could go to? Will we see it in the playoffs? And we didn't see it enough there either. And I think case in point, it's one of two big regrets I have regarding Deuce McBride. And it's, why didn't you go to Deuce in the starting five down 2-0 to Indiana? I know they won game 3, but it was largely when he went to a lineup I never thought I would ever see ever. And it was like Deuce, Precious, DeLon Wright, Josh Hart, and Mitch. And it's like, oh, that's the 5 that's going to save the season. Got it. And it's a year earlier, which, look, I will never like criticize Tibbs too much for the 2023 or 2024 playoffs, that series against the Pacers. Because they were so shorthanded for so many months. And when OG pulled up lame with his hammy, like there was just so many other options, like so few options with where the rotation was at that point. They were up 2-0. If he goes to Deuce then, instead of the Precious at the 4 in game 3, does that change the outcome? Do they get a split of the series? Now, I'm hesitant to put too much blame on Tibbs because I thought Indiana also showed something, but I did think they lost the starting 5 margin with the Precious at the 4 starting 5 in those, at least in that first game. And they lost every margin in the game 4. By then, Indiana was back in the series. So yeah, just it's one of those two moments where he had a chance to switch up the starting 5 and went to someone else over Deuce. And what if you had gone to a lineup that prioritizes space, that honestly just puts a better player out there than Precious Achiuwa, or in this case, prioritizing offense instead of Mitch, which, like, Mitch was great in the playoffs. It
was awesome.
Who knows what we would have saw instead?
Look, for me, it's two things. Like zooming in, like he couldn't hit the far side of a barn against Detroit, and then he shot 50% from 3 against Boston. And after shooting 50% from 3 against Boston in a decent minute load, 22 and a half minutes per game over the 6 games. He only averaged 18 minutes against the Pacers this year, 18.3, and like took 16 threes in those 6 games. And it's like, it's just crazy that the same guy who in game 1 against Philly a year ago, like won the game for them because he made 5 for 7 from deep, can take 16 threes across 6 games, you know? Yeah. And that's a big part of it. And just like more generally, there are some players I think that we watch and it's a very, like, less is more. Like there's a very clear, like, oh, this guy, there's a reason this guy only plays 15 minutes a game or 20 minutes a game. I don't know that we've ever watched Deuce McBride. And I've been critical of Deuce at times. Shout out to Alex. But I don't know that there's ever been a time where he's played a bunch and you're like, man, that really exposed his limitations or his flaws. Like he's just kind of solid, even when he's not playing well individually. Very rarely, if ever, do you watch Deuce McBride and you feel like, man, he's kind of hurting us. And we, although Detroit series was maybe the closest because he lost his confidence a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
But I think that now leads to the next category and the next part of the conversation, which I'll let you take away.
The role that this player would have, or in this case, will have, I don't know, that's a big difference on the current Knicks team. I like, good content idea. We should do this before the season. Draft the most interesting players of the 2025-2026 Knicks.
So just tell me, where would Deuce fall in your draft board right now?
I think he has an argument to go very close to the top. If you consider the fact that 4 starters are probably locked in, and he has a very good argument to be the 5th. I mean, it's for that reason you could say that he is the most interesting player, especially given who the new coach is and the new coach's propensity at his last stop for playing 2 guard lineups and not having any issue with that. And he played 2 guard lineups where neither guard was a particularly strong defender. Deuce McBride obviously is a good one. I said, I wrote this in newsletter, I think on Friday or Monday or something. Monday. I think Mitch is going to start, and I think we're going to see Deuce settle into, like, I think he's going to be the 7th man. I think he's going to be the 7th man on this team. And I could see him averaging 20 to 22 minutes a game, something like that. But I think he's going to play with a lot of different lineups. I think he'll play with the core starters. I think, any games that Jalen Brunson misses, although Mike Brown does some funny stuff with this, as you talked about on your during your conversation with someone whose name is escaping me at the moment.
Brendan Nunez of Sacktown Sports.
There you go. Look, he's going to play a big role. He's a pivotal piece, but I do not think he's going to start this year.
So it's interesting that the question is, what would they have or will they have on the current team, and not what should they or should they have on the current team? It's to be determined what Mike Brown's going to do, what Mike Brown can do for you. I do think. Look, you did a newsletter about this last summer during Summer League. I actually made the case for it last year when I did that show with CP and Dexter Henry. This is right after the McHale trade, so they hadn't traded for Karl-Anthony Towns and still had DiVincenzo. That the example that I go back to where you can start a different lineup than your potential 5-out death look, right? You can like the Warriors throughout their championship run, that death lineup that people go to before they traded for Kevin Durant, with Draymond Green at center, Iguodala at the 4, Harrison Barnes at the 3, and then the Splash Brothers, right? it was their 5th most used lineup that first season. It wasn't the lineup they started or even played the most. Yeah. The second year, it was their 3rd or 4th most used lineup. But the point is that their first 2 lineups were not lineups that had Draymond at center. It was either Andrew Bogut or I forget who their backup was, but it wasn't. It was Maurice Spates. That's who it was.
Oh yeah,
their backup center. Like he played more. They played more minutes with Mo Spates at center than their potential 5 outlook, and they won 73 games. Then the following 2 seasons, when they had Kevin Durant, it still wasn't their most used 5-man lineup. No. I've never been someone that believes this needs to be like the lineup they play 46 minutes and then you just give everybody 2 minutes off and we'll play a center. You can start Mitch and probably have a necessary back line of defense that will make like Mikal Bridges' job easier, will make Cat's job easier because he doesn't have to be a rim protector anymore. That'll make OG's job easier. And we saw the formula work in Minnesota, especially when you have a Karl-Anthony Towns on the floor. I'm fine starting Mitch. It's the Deuce plus the starters lineup can't play 82 possessions in a season. It has to be an option. It has to be an option you go to often. And it's why, what role will they have? Will Deuce have on this current team? It's to be determined. The thing that's going to tell me the most, I don't know if you feel this way, John. I don't think Mitchell Robinson is going to play 82 games. Just my hunch this year. I don't think he's going to be healthy enough for 82 games.
How dare
personally, I'm not doubting Mitch. I hope he does. I wish it into the universe. I don't think he's going to be healthy enough for 82 games. When Mitch is out, what does he go to? Is Josh Hart the de facto center? Is Ariel McBride taking a step up? Or does he go to Deuce McBride? Like, that is going to be the thing that I am most fascinated by with Deuce McBride's role. Is it going to be determined on lineup data? Is it going to be, who's Jalen Brunson's podcast partner? Like, I am most curious by that situation, and that will tell me a lot about what Deuce's role is on this team.
Yeah, and this is a good transition to our last category, which is the player's lasting legacy with the Knicks, which obviously for Deuce and for a couple other people that are going to pop up on this list is yet to be fully written. I think Deuce is going to be someone that we look back on and be like, and we're like, I mean, I kind of said a version of this before, but good things happened when that dude was on the court. And that's why you just, again, you nailed it with the Quickly thing, because that was Emmanuel Quickly for 3.5 years. And then immediately after Quickly got traded, Deuce McBride picked up the baton and has been running with it ever since. And it's just a matter of how long he's here and how well the team, or how high the team gets. Well, I mean, obviously, can they win a championship? That's a big one, because if he's like the sixth-ish man, quasi starter, at times starter on a Knicks team that wins a title, I mean, think about like old heads before he came here and ran the organization into the ground as a executive. Like, older Knicks fans thought of Phil Jackson not as the coach of the Bulls or the coach of the Lakers. They thought of him as like the guy that came off the bench and was like a contributor to winning basketball on those championship teams. And Phil Jackson also stayed around for a long time, which Deuce, by the way, also has a chance to do. And we're not getting into like, the salary cap and contract stuff now, but like, he's on this dirt cheap extension. It's way too cheap for him to extend off of. So like, I've been fascinated for a little while. Like, what is that? Does that make him more likely to be traded, less likely to be traded? Like, because he's so valuable to the Knicks on this contract right now? I don't know. We'll have that conversation a different day. But he's going to be someone that is, I don't know how many Knicks fans are going to say like, yeah, Deuce McBride was like my favorite player on that team. But I don't know that anyone will have any negative associations with Deuce, like, at all. Full stop.
Yeah, my simple answer to this question is it's still being written what his legacy is. Because to your point, there's a world he's like a very important player on a team that makes the finals or even wins a title. There's a world where the legacy of Deuce McBride is a retread of the question we asked 2 questions ago, like the biggest regret. He's a what if candidate is his legacy. Like, what if the team had leaned into a different look? He goes to a different team that leans into said look, and we see it differently. It's to be determined what his legacy is, and that's why this question for a lot of different guys that are currently on the roster will still be one that we're figuring out. I'll just say this: I hope it's a good one in a Knicks uniform. I hope his legacy is the first, more option A, the first option we suggested, that this guy is part of some of the memorable runs that this franchise has had throughout a memorable era of Knicks basketball.
I'll just say flatly that when I was doing this, I was definitely skewing more towards guys that were not on the current team, and I can't fully explain why. I think I'll get into it more as we go along the list. But like, I don't know. I guess I'm nostalgic at heart. I have no idea. I don't really have a rationale. But like, yeah, I had Deuce in like I think the high 30s, or like the low 30s. So like 30. Did I have him like 31, 32, something like that? Or
John Macri had him at 31.
31. Okay, so there you go. Which was tied for the lowest, I think, of anyone.
Yes.
Oh no, sorry. One person. I don't know if he wants to be outed, but he had. Someone had him at 32, which I'll
okay.
But he's in the range for everybody. So this is someone that I don't think there was a big discrepancy of opinions about, because like highest 21, lowest 32, like that's a pretty good indication. I think it's correct that Deuce McBride makes the list at 25. And with that, we're off and running. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you're looking forward to the next 24. That's the plan, to do 24 more of these things. And if we space it out correctly, that should bring us right up until the beginning of the season.
So there was a graphic that came out over the weekend that you will have seen by now that has all the names being filled. We will fill it in as we go. We will put, I think we're obviously recording this in the past, folks. I think I'm going to add a release date for each name. The plan right now is for us to do 3 days a week, three names per week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll get them released. And then the last week before training camp, the week leading up to training camp, we will release number 4, number 3, number 2, and number 1 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then that leads us right in to the 2025-26 team. And all the fun that comes. And the Knicks also didn't do us any favor because they play the first 2 preseason games. So we had to move up any preseason content schedules. So, that's the plan for the next 7 or 8 weeks. I guess 8 weeks total, folks, is the next 25 best 25 Knicks of the past 25 seasons.
We're not going to say no to content. Play all the preseason games you want.
Sounds good. Absolutely. And whatever country you want, too. I believe these are the Abu Dhabi games that they're playing.
Mohamed Diawara, get ready to... You better strap on those Nikes, man.
Better believe it. Shout out to Summer League.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. I got to run and continue to put together this house. So I am at some point, God willing, no longer podcasting from my bedroom. So everybody can see my unmade bed behind me. Thank you, Andrew, for really getting this thing to the point where it was ready to go.
You had a great idea, and I'm glad that we're running with it. This is fun.
I'm having fun too. Everybody out there, thanks for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. As Andrew just told you, more funny games coming your way before you know it. But until then, take care and peace out.